The Threx Dominion believed themselves eternal. Their fleets stretched across half the Orion Arm. Their soldiers had conquered worlds older than Earth's oceans, and their arrogance had long since eclipsed their wisdom. When they looked upon humanity, young, curious, spreading quietly between the stars, they saw a species too sentimental, too bound by law and empathy to be dangerous. They were wrong. The first blow fell without warning. It happened in the Helios Belt, where 10 human colonies glittered like jewels among asteroid mines and research stations. The Threx warlord, Vakar Trun, gave the order with a casual flick of his claws. An extermination strike, he called it. He wanted to make a lesson of humanity, to remind the younger species of their place. The skies above Helios burned red. Thousands died in the first hour. Orbital habitats were torn open by plasma fire, their inhabitants sucked screaming into the void. Civilian freighters tried to run. They were hunted down. A colony city on the moon of Callus Prime was turned to molten glass, and when the screams finally ceased, the Threx broadcast their victory across every open channel. The message was short, cold, and mocking. Earth's children crumble. The Dominion stands unopposed. Vakar Trun laughed as his flagship Terror of Suns drifted past the shattered wreckage of human life. The Threx officers toasted their triumph with scarlet wine, celebrating their power. To them, it was a demonstration of dominance, a warning to all other species not to defy their reign. To humanity, it was something else entirely. It was war. Arrogance among ashes, the Threx Dominion believed they had broken humanity. They believed the silence that followed the Helios massacre was fear. That Earth, with its fragile diplomacy and endless debates, would hesitate, plead, or retreat. They believed wrong again. Weeks passed. The Dominion's propaganda machine roared to life, filling the galactic networks with images of burning colonies and the boastful speeches of their generals. Let Earth weep, they said. Let them understand the order of the stars. The galaxy watched in uneasy silence. Other species, long cowed by Threx brutality, stayed quiet, unwilling to draw attention. A few whispered that the humans might strike back, but even they doubted the extent of Earth's fury. For the Threx, humanity's quiet was proof of surrender. For Earth, it was the breath before the storm. Deep beneath the oceans of the Pacific, in command bunkers older than most colonies, the United Terran Command met behind sealed doors. There were no speeches, no ceremony, only grim faces and cold decisions. The images of Helios burned on every screen. The murdered civilians, the burning cities, the laughter of the Threx officers. And then, in that silence, Admiral Sarakaido spoke the words that would echo through history. They think we're broken. Let's teach them what breaking really means. From that moment, Earth's quiet ended. The silence, before the storm, the Threx didn't notice it at first. The subtle shifts across the hyperlanes, the quiet disappearances of human merchant convoys, the ghostly silence of human communications. Their analysts assumed Earth was retreating inward, mourning its losses. But in the void between stars, something vast was stirring. Old ships were recalled. Fleets hidden in reserve since the age of the Sol Wars were awakened and refitted with weaponry far beyond galactic standards. Factories on Mars roared to life, churning out dreadnought hulls and autonomous strike drones. Shipyards on Luna glowed red through the night. And the Black Fleets, the secret defense force Earth had sworn never to use, began to assemble. They came from the dark edges of known space. Stealth cruisers that had never appeared on any registry, carriers whose hulls were etched with the scars of forgotten battles, and titanic siege ships capable of erasing continents. Each bore a single mark, the flag of a blue planet, crossed by silver stars. When the fleet was ready, a single message went out. It wasn't broadcast in bravado or arrogance. It wasn't shouted across frequencies. It was sent only once, cold, quiet, and final, for Helios. For the fallen, retaliation authorized. And then, the stars themselves seemed to move. When Earth spoke, the Threx Dominion's first sign of trouble was the disappearance of their forward fleet in Sector 91. No distress calls. No survivors. One moment, 30 warships were patrolling human space. The next, they were gone. Then the supply convoys vanished. Then the outposts went dark. Then the communication hubs fell silent. In the Dominion's war halls, confusion turned to concern, and concern to fear. The Threx had no idea what was happening. Every probe sent toward human space simply stopped transmitting. The Threx Council demanded an explanation from Warlord Troon. He gave them one. Earth has no fleet strong enough to threaten us. Their silence is submission. But when the lights of his home system dimmed, when orbital sensors caught the first flicker of motion from the dark, he realized too late that silence was not surrender, it was warning. What came next was not war, it was obliteration. Fire. Across the heavens, the human fleets emerged from hyperspace like a tidal wave of metal and vengeance. Thousands of ships, from the smallest frigate to the colossal Atlas-class dreadnoughts, poured into Threx territory with military precision. The first strike hit Korath, the Threx industrial capital. Orbital foundries that had operated for centuries were reduced to slag within minutes. Every defensive satellite, every planetary shield generator, every escape route, gone. The sky turned to fire. The Threx defenders barely had time to scream before their communications were drowned in static. The product of Earth's new silence engines, weapons that devoured all signals, leaving the enemy blind and deaf. From the command deck of the flagship, TNS Vengeance Eternal, Admiral Kaito watched the devastation unfold. Her voice was calm, devoid of triumph, as she gave the next order. Proceed to the next target. Leave nothing that bears their crest. And so they did. Planet after planet burned, world after world fell. The Threx war machine, once the terror of the Orion Arm, was dismantled piece by piece. Human shock troopers landed on fortified worlds, their exosuits black as midnight, their weapons whispering death. Entire Threx armies surrendered upon seeing them, terrified of the soldiers whose helmets bore no insignia, only a single glowing emblem, a blue circle representing Earth. In orbit, orbital bombardments sculpted the landscape into glass. Human fleets moved with mathematical precision, striking from multiple directions, cutting supply lines, isolating command nodes. Every system that had once cheered the Dominion's power now broadcast distress calls. And through it all, the humans said nothing. No speeches, no threats, just silence and fire. The fall of the Dominion. By the time the Threx realized the scale of Earth's response, it was too late. Their grand fleets, numbering in the thousands, assembled around their homeworld, a last, desperate stand. Their warlords screamed for glory, for vengeance, for the honor of the Dominion. What they got was despair. When the human armada arrived, it blotted out the stars. The Threx sky turned black as hundreds of dreadnoughts took formation. Their combined mass eclipsed sunlight. The planet's night became endless. Then came the message. Not from the Admiralty, not from the politicians, from Earth itself. The voice was unmistakably human. Calm, steady and cold. You thought Earth would break. You killed our people. You burned our homes. You mistook mercy for weakness. You will make that mistake no longer. The message ended. Then the bombardment began. Kinetic strikes the size of mountains fell from orbit. Plasma lances carved across the surface, cutting through planetary shields like silk. The atmosphere ignited in places. Oceans boiled. The Threx homeworld trembled beneath the fury of Earth's retribution. Their fleet, vast, proud, ancient, shattered under the coordinated assault. Every formation they deployed met a mirrored countermeasure. Every strategy they attempted had already been anticipated. Humanity's AIs, born from centuries of war and simulation, dismantled their tactics with surgical cruelty. When the flagship Terror of Suns, the ship that had led the Helios massacre, tried to flee, Admiral Kaito herself ordered its capture. The human Marines boarded it in silence. When they found Warlord Troon, he begged for mercy. She gave him none. His execution was transmitted live to every surviving Threx commander. No words, just the sound of a single gunshot, and then silence again. 7. The end of the war, it lasted 31 days. That was all it took for Earth to erase the Threx Dominion from existence. The galaxy watched in stunned horror as the once mighty empire fell. The Threx fleets no longer patrolled the stars. Their colonies were abandoned, their worlds reduced to ash. The survivors, if any, were scattered refugees, too terrified to speak the name of their destroyers. In the aftermath, the United Terran Command issued only one statement, transmitted across the galactic network. The Helios colonies are avenged. We seek no conquest. We demand no tribute. But let this be remembered. Earth does not forgive. Earth does not forget. And then, they shut the channels down. No more broadcasts. No more threats. Humanity vanished once more into the quiet of their systems. Their fleets returning home, silent, Cold. Efficient. The galaxy held its breath.